Huawei has just announced a new guideline for the semiconductor industry. This new guideline is called Tau Scaling Law. So for the details of this law, especially the technical aspect, I'll leave it to the other YouTubers who are more qualified than me in explaining what this law is about. But basically, it's a breakthrough. It's very different. It's totally different from the Moore's law that is used by the semiconductor industry for decades in terms of production. So in a nutshell, instead of making the semiconductor smaller and smaller and smaller, small as possible, to squeeze as many semiconductor or transistors onto a specific area. Tau scaling law is not to make things smaller, but to use logic fold, that's the term that they use, and also stacking to achieve the same objective in terms of the computing power and efficiency. And what is this impact? The impact is huge. Hi, Leslie Koo here. How big is the impact of this new guideline, Tau scaling law? According to Huawei, it wants to do mass production of semiconductor using this new guidelines by 2031. And according to Huawei, the efficiency will be equivalent to 1.4 nanometers. And for China to have computer chips that is not smaller than 5 nanometer, but smaller than 2 nanometer. And that is a big deal from the US perspective. So let's see what is the impact on the consumer levels. First of all, China smartphones maker, likely that they will slowly shift towards this China make more advanced chips. Likely that will be, yes, if it's more efficient, is not as efficient, it will be more powerful. If it's not as powerful, it's definitely cheaper. That is for sure, because it doesn't make sense that if it's not cheaper. Yeah. And given the decades of experience and expertise in terms of building up the supply chain to make some things, you can count it that this new advanced chip will be cheaper compared to the chips manufacturing elsewhere. So I think stage one for this China smartphone maker will be, for the China market, the smartphones will be using this China-made advanced chips, while the global market will continue to use the Qualcomm. Shortly after that, I believe they will switch. Even the smartphones, the Chinese smartphones sold in the global market will use the China-made chips. I mean, Chinese company, like many other companies, including Western ones, maximizing profit and minimizing costs are the main principle of running a company. So this is how I see it for the China smartphone makers. And in terms of AI and robotics, as of now, many people are saying that China AI and robotics are hindered by the limitations to the access of the advanced computer chips. But by 2031, this is no longer true because China can have a chip that is lower than 2 nanometers, 1.4. And without these advanced computer chips or advanced technology in terms of semiconductors, so on and so forth, China has managed to move so fast, especially on AI and robotics. Can you imagine if China has the capability of producing 1.4 nanometer chips as many at once and as fast as it wants? Think about that. And what about at the government level? Okay. Or what we talked earlier are at the consumer producer level. But what about the government level? What will the Chinese government face when it has access to an advanced technology in terms of manufacturing this high-end computer chips? For sure, the US government will come. Sanctions, limitation, restrictions, telling non-Chinese companies, especially companies from the allied countries, please do not buy, do not use these chips, this technology, semiconductor, produced by Huawei. Don't use. No, strictly no. But the thing is that, on the Western European allies, they will listen, right? Like Germany, Switzerland, France, so on and so forth, UK, right? Brazil, one of the BRICS member, hard to say, right? Of course, other South American countries, they might follow, but Brazil is a bit different. South Africa, no, not South Africa. Africa, well, very high chance that they will want to have access to that, right? Because China has been helping them in developing their infrastructure in terms of economic development, so on and so forth. So, using China's technology is, it's inevitable. They will not listen. And Central Asia, I think they were down, right? Eastern Europe, Serbia, Hungary, I think if it's in their interest, I don't think they will shy away from that. Middle East, if they want, after they seeing what the US can do, inverted commas, on the Middle East securities during the war on Iran, they will shift towards the China tech, especially when China can offer an advanced computer chips. Right? It will be helpful to their own AI and robotics development. And in the coming years, I will see that the Middle East will likely bias slowly, not overnight, towards the acceptance of China's technology. And I don't think the US will want to sanction the Middle East on that. Well, if you sanction them, they'll say, well, okay, you sanction me, then my petroleum will be priced in renminbi or any other currencies besides US dollars. Right? So that's why the US will not sanction Middle East. In a nutshell, that means if China wants to promote its technology, especially after having the ability to produce high-end chips, there are buyers. There are nations who want to adopt the China technology, especially after seeing what the Chinese technology can do in terms of AI, in terms of robotics, when it has no high-end chips. Now it has, so the sky is the limit. There will be buyers. There will be buyers, despite the sanction, the limitations, so on and so forth from the US. Now then another question is, or another point that we should look at is Taiwan. Taiwan role in the US is because of Taiwan locations. Is right in front of China, so and US can use China as a pawn when they negotiate with China. And other than that, Taiwan has TSMC. Almost 90% of the high-end chips, I'll say all high-end chips, are produced in TSMC in Taiwan. So that's why the US has been asking TSMC to move their production line out of Taiwan to the US. There has been delay. Why? Well, there hasn't been any reason being published, but I would think that maybe the cost of making the chips, and I'm sure there are many other things which hopefully we'll see reports highlighting about that. But in the meantime, no, there has been delay in TSMC. Then, as of now, TSMC is very valuable because it is the only one that can manufacture high-end chips, okay, or chips at all levels. China cannot. Right? So, the USC, TSMC, and Taiwan, very valuable. But when China has the ability to produce high-end chips, I think the value seen by the US about TSMC, about Taiwan, will drop significantly. Right? Because the US can no longer use Taiwan or TSMC to negotiate with China. China said, well, you can take TSMC. I have my own factories manufacturing computer chips, semiconductors, so on and so forth at all levels now. So you can take TSMC, but of course not Taiwan. Right? Of course not Taiwan. But TSMC, you want to move the whole production line to Arizona, so be it. Yeah. So the value of TSMC will drop. And of course, that will be a worry to the pro-independence Taiwanese and Taiwanese politicians. So I was thinking that on the whole, China will have its own high-end chips by 2031 or maybe earlier. And there is nothing much the rest of the world can do, can stop. There will be countries who want to adopt China's technology, especially in terms of AI and robotics, because that will help the industry, help the nation in terms of the economic development. And I think that is the direction that the world order will go. China, I should say, more and more nations will start to adopt China technologies, especially AI and robotics. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.